Crypto dads, do you think you've seen chaos? Over the weekend, my kids and their friends took over daddy's office, rearranging everything, and they thought it was a brilliant idea to have their juice cups right next to my laptop. And they know the rules, but luckily I caught them in time and fixed the mess just before. But just imagine that juice cup fell over onto my laptop. I can think dads right now are cringing and hyperventilating of the thought of what could be, right? And on another note, Raul, not this last weekend, the previous weekend, I really could have done with your new business that you're starting. I was robbed with my cell phone, and my biggest fear came true. But more on that story a bit later.
All crypto dads have their moments, but we always pick ourselves up and soldier on. So let's see what Raul's bringing to the table now.
All right, let's get right to it. Welcome, everybody, to DadsGoneCrypto, where we break down the blockchain for dads like us. I'm Sean, crypto dad, and proof that bad things can happen to the best of us.
And I'm Ryan, your co-guide through the crypto wilds. Today, Raul Dario from Nuvola joins us again on the show with his new venture, Vola Network. Welcome, Raul, to the show. It's great to have you back, and we have definitely missed you, so really looking forward to what you have to bring us today.
What's going on, guys? It's a pleasure to be back. It's been a long while, a lot of development, a lot to talk about, a lot of exciting things. So I feel honored to be back and back with the dads.
Great to have you back, bro.
Great to have you back here.
All right, so Nuvola was rocking it last time we spoke. A lot has happened in the short space of time. Give us a quick update since the last time we chatted.
Yeah, so I believe we chatted late last summer, if I'm not mistaken. A lot has happened since. We've expanded our node operations. I believe we actually doubled our minutes node operations since our last interview last summer. So we are at just about 7% of the nodes there.
Wow.
We've had a ton of developments in-house coming out. Vola Network is one of them. Advancements with Nuvola Drive, C-Hub. And we've kind of just been heads down. Our node operation portion of Nuvola is robust. It's, we're giving our partners the time and patience to do their thing and deliver from their side. And instead of just sitting around and waiting, we've also been developing on our end to make sure that we can help contribute some of the products that we are running for node operations. Vola Network is actually going to bolster or boost some of our partners and what they're doing. So we're very excited to be contributing from our side. The markets have been kind of crazy all over the place. I know from an investor standpoint, we grew quite a bit on the charts. We clipped about $2, having launched from 8 cents. And now we're back down around 80-ish cents or so. But the markets are kind of we're all feeling it. But development doesn't stop from our side. And we're just happy to deliver value more than anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Nuvola has been making big waves, but now you're diving into something even bigger. So tell us all about how Vola Network was born.
Yeah, so in the node operation portion of Nuvola, right? The way it works, we discussed on our last interview about the 1-to-X model, where we continuously keep expanding our node operations, utilizing revenues that come into our treasury as we reward our stakers as well. Part of that model is constantly finding the next partner, right? The next revenue share model in DePIN that's going to help us grow and contribute back to the space. That arose the problem of what's called fragmentation, right? Fragmentation is essentially where you have all these different services or products that are great, right? But it's difficult to find them because they're all fragmented or pieced across the space. And there essentially isn't a unified way to look at all of them in comparison. A lot of times, especially in crypto, there's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of projects and tokens at this point, I think. How do you know all of them? How do you know you're making the right calls, like comparing, right? So fragmentation was the problem that we also saw with our node operations, where it was like, where's the next partner? And we spent hours and hours a week trying to find, reading through a ton of documentation. And then, we started to think, well, the problem here isn't finding us finding every single partner. It's why don't we create a platform that brings everything under one roof, and then with a couple simple searches, exactly like an Amazon storefront, you have the entire market at your fingertips, and then you can sit there, decide, and compare. I like this provider. What do they offer? What's their pricing compared to this? What's the community saying? What are their node providers saying about their network, right? So that's essentially where Vola Network was born. It's at heart, it's a deepen aggregation partner chain, right? So we are a substrate chain, and we are a partner chain to Cardano. So we're absorbing all the privacy and security that Cardano brings on. But we are not bound to just Cardano. It's going to be a uh, multi-chain blockchain by design. So this way, we can aggregate all the great deep pin protocols from all the different chains, right? Where there's some on Peak Network, there might be some on Polkadot or Avalanche or Ethereum. It doesn't really matter where they are. Vola Network will allow a centralized hub where users, for clients and service providers alike, can essentially find a landing page, and let's say they want cloud storage. They'll type in a simple term, cloud storage. All the cloud storage providers that we have access to will be displayed with their pricing, with their reviews, their ratings, their models, right? And then someone can really sit there and nitpick and say, oh, I like this one. What's this about? Versus having to go to 50 different websites, read 50 different papers, right? So we really took the Amazon storefront approach where it unifies everything unbiasedly. It's just a platform, right? And we let the community speak and the providers speak. And then that way, even for our node operations, now we can say, all right, well, we have the entire roster right here. Which one do we want to really look into? And then another very powerful element that Vola will provide us with is the backend analytics, right? How many views, clicks, traffic is this one provider getting? Why? So we're also able to vet the traffic and see who has the highest utilization, who is getting the most attention. So then from the Nuvola side, where we run our nodes, we can say, oh, wow, this one protocol is getting 100,000 clicks a month. The utilization rate is 50%, which is pretty good. What's the revenue model like? Let's go check it out. And we have the backend statistics to really help us guide through this process of spinning up more nodes, right? So essentially, it started as just a node operation problem where we're trying to expand and how do we do it faster. And then it was just like, well, let's just build a solution, bring everything into one, central place, and then we can essentially have our work cut out for us to some capacity at that point.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very cool. So how does Vola Network build on Nuvola's roots? Like what's the big leap there?
So as far as building on its roots, they are both DePIN protocols, right? Nuvola handles the physical node operation aspect of it. Look at Nuvola as like a global scale node operator, right? I think we're nearing almost 1,000 nodes in operation.
Wow.
Once Minutes goes live, it's going to be incredible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vola itself, look at it as the back end engine that allows Nuvola to pretty much have access to hundreds to thousands, potentially at some point in time, of DePIN providers where we can now infiltrate and say, oh, let's get nodes in this protocol. But Vola in itself is not just an aggregator, right? There's a lot more that's going to come with it, which we could get into at some point. But the models are very different in a way. They are both DePIN, to answer your question. Nuvola is a revenue share model. The supply for the token is 21 million. It's fixed, right? You hold the token, you stake it, and you earn the rewards and the compound from all the operations expanding. Vola and the Vola token will act as a gas token, right? And also to help power some of the nodes for the validation and aggregation nodes that currently we are in DevNet with. So the models are drastically different. They don't dilute each other in any way. They actually help each other, which I think was a bit of a confusion when we first did announce Vola. People were like, oh, another token. And it's like, yes, but it's a completely separate vehicle that handles completely separate things. But there's a lot of synergy between Nuvola and Vola. So look at Vola as essentially a sub product to Nuvola. Nuvola, we are the parent company, And then Vola Network itself is a blockchain, but it's a sub product to Nuvola. So there's benefits that go both ways for it.
Right. Wow. Very, very cool.
Raul, can you just elaborate a little bit more on Vola Network? You guys are expanding out. I think I listened to the last AMA into, cloud storage and security, and thinking about my personal digital life, keeping NFTs safe, kids' photos from getting deleted. How can that part of the Vola Network keep my mind sane as well as my things safe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, privacy is the biggest thing that comes with cloud storage in general, right? And Vola Network essentially is a hybrid between the Web 2 and the Web 3 world, where we will have your household names like Google, Drive, Dropbox, the big names that we're all used to using. But there's also going to be Web3 options, right? We're currently partnered with Iagon. They will definitely be there. Filecoin will be there. Arweave, many others will be there in both storage and compute, where users can get exposure to the newer, safer, more private options while still having the familiarity of what they're used to seeing, right? There's nothing worse than when you try to get into a new product and it's 100% unfamiliar. You don't know what's left, right, up, down, right? It's almost like a scary leap to take. You don't trust it. So we took the familiarity approach of saying, hey, we are also integrated with Google and Dropbox. They'll see those options there. And there's also going to be an easy migrate button where someone can take their files, it integrates it into Vola, and then it migrates it over to a Web3 provider, Decentralized, right? So we just display all the options available. Decentralized obviously is way more private. It's way more secure, end-to-end encryption. There's really no issues with privacy when it comes to Web3 storage. So this is a turning of the tide moment, or I like to call it a paradigm shift in time moment, where we're giving people the comfort of, hey, this is what you've been used to, but here's some better options that are cheaper, that are more private, right? And people can start to dabble. Vola is also going to be very much a educational platform where it's like all these providers are there and it's like learn more. It's going to have active links to their documentation where people can actually do the DD before they decide to pay for any specific service. Also, we're going to have an enterprise level kind of solution, but we're going to have clients where they already have massive Dropbox accounts and they want that extra added security. So they'll pay for the additional Web3 client, right? Or the Web3 solution and have a double backup, right? We're also anticipating not just one service being utilized, like people might have backups of backups of backups. I was in the film industry for quite a bit. Those film files get massive, right? And storing it on one hard drive is just absolute stupidity, right? So we would have 15 hard drives with the same stuff backed up on it, stored in all these different locations on top of Google and Dropbox. And so people need to have that option to have multiple solutions, right? Or multiple places to store. And Vola will practically put it all out there. So to summarize, you'll have the familiarity, but you're also going to have the extreme privacy and those newer, kind of more innovative solutions available at the same time.
Wow, very cool. So you're not competing with Render and Iagon or AWS or any of this. You're actually utilizing them in your system.
Yeah, we're looking to bolster their networks. At some point in time, if we feel like maybe we can also compete in that space and it's new and innovative, we can absolutely step in. But for clarity, we have skin in the game with Iagon. We run a lot of nodes for them globally. So this is actually, Vola actually helps bolster them, right? And many others that I'm sure we'll come across that will want to also tap in and spin up nodes for. But I will also say, we're innovators. If we see something in the space that's missing, we will attack it, right? And do our best to make sure that we bring value to the clients and our community first. So, a little competition, friendly competition is always good. I played football my whole life, and a quote that stuck with me was, competition breeds success. So if you're the only one doing something, you grow stagnant. So that competition is there to help push the space forward in many ways, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. But all right, now, so you've got me hooked. So let's talk tokens because dads love a great ROI.
So, Raul, tell me why. Why another token? Like, the more we're in this industry, and the more we're like, do you really need another token? Right? It's like, so how is this all going to fit into it? How does it all play into it? How does it go back into Nuvola? So, tell us, what is the tokenomics and what is the game plan with this token?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Why another token? Given that I think we're nearing about 80% of the Nuvola supply is in circulation, NVL supply is in circulation. And of that 80%, I believe 80 to 85% is staked. It'd be very difficult for us to try and operate an entire blockchain with the remaining 20-ish percent that's currently sitting in the treasury and, you know, a team allocation and operations allocations, right? Where we would have to really split hairs to use that, which that allocation, that 20% or so that's left over, if you read our Nuvola documentation, is there for strategic expansion of more node operations. So for us to completely, you know, release that and try to spin it to help Vola Network do its thing would be extremely difficult and I think counterproductive at the point that it's just a completely separate model, right? The Vola Network itself and the Vola token is going to serve the specific purpose of a blockchain token, kind of like Cardano has its own token for gas and things like that. And the tokenomics is very much for that. If you look at Iagon, you know, they have a reward model for their nodes, and, you know, Vola will have its own node infrastructure. We have validator nodes and aggregator nodes that we need to incentivize node operators to run those to help validate the network and aggregate the storage and the services. Where's that going to come from, right? And we don't have enough NVL. Just the design, the model does not make sense. So we had to create a different structured model. There is 1 billion tokens for Vola Network by design. That's what we came with. Half, I think it's about 50 to 55%. This is in our documentation and white paper for it. Has a 20-year mission schedule, and that's for the node operations, right? So just about half of the supply is out of circulation at all times, and it's slowly getting dripped out, right? We have a very small private seed sale that we are currently in the process. We've been approached by some very, very credible individuals. We did that by design. When we first launched Nuvola and Vola, we said we weren't going to do another token raise no matter what. And we're sticking to that, right? So there is no public token sale for the Vola network. There's only a private seed and a VC round that we are currently looking into. But we didn't want to show out and raise more money from everyone and do, we were approached by a small group of individuals that said that they have a lot of interest, and we took that route, right? And we're just delivering product without raising another penny from the larger community. Now there's an allocation of believe it's another 5% for NVL token holders. So if you are an NVL holder, you're staking, you will get a reward or an allocation of Vola into your staking portal that will be distributed over some time. Why did we do that? Well, one, it's a thank you to the people who believed in us, who helped us raise, the NVL token sale and have stood by us to this point. But secondly, we want to also help jumpstart a bit of a node economy, right? Where that airdrop going to NVL stakers, yes, some might sell, but we are confident that a good amount of them will want to spin up their own nodes and get more involved into the Vola ecosystem, which is essentially what it's going to be. It's going to be a massive ecosystem, right? So that's why the new token, it just makes way more sense, right? It's a fresh model. We don't have to try to split hairs within a pre-existing token that's already heavily in circulation. It would just be, we did think heavily on this, right? And it just didn't make sense. It was too much. And to start a new idea that could ultimately fail because we were trying to stick to a different model, just wasn't in our best interest as a business, right? We are business first, so we always have to do what's in the best interest of Nuvola, because if we don't, then everyone else suffers, right? The community will
Yeah.
suffer. So, and then again, that's why we went with the no public sale. So
Okay.
the only way to really get it is through the private seed round or to just be an NVL staker. The rest is on us. Yep.
The tokens the NVL holders are getting, do you need, how many tokens do you need to spin up a node? Is that node a public node, or can you only get those nodes in a private sale? How does that work?
No, so Vola is going to be what's called an expansive network, meaning there is no privacy as far as who can access the nodes. It's just permissionless. Like, you have a Vola token, you want to contribute to the network. There'll be a variety of different node models that you can contribute. And if you have the technical knowledge, you can. We are also looking into some 1 or 2 click solutions for the lesser technical to help them, get involved to some capacity. To answer your question, Sean, as far as the metrics for how much token is needed per node, this is something that we are really peeling back all the layers to and looking at it very intricately, because we want to make sure that the model, once it's laid out, has to be sustainable for a 20-year emission of rewards for that big public chunk that's getting paid out to the node operators. And one small mistake where we don't calculate something properly, where price has too much of an impact, and then nodes suffer because people say the price of the token's too much. I can't get the network's not growing fast enough because you might need more tokens, and if it's set at a price. So there's a lot of different elements we're considering. We will have all these squared away in the next few months leading into testnet. Once testnet's live, nodes will start to get spun up and things of that nature. So we will make sure that it's all very intricately mapped out and laid out so that we can keep that 20-year schedule going. But yeah, that's a big question, right? And it's not something that we're just kind of offshooting and say, oh yeah, let's do it like they did it. And it's other models have worked, but there's pros and cons to a lot of the different models out there, and we're trying to find a perfect sweet spot where everything is happy and sustainable.
Yeah. All right. So, Raul, security is king, especially in the data space, right? So, if a company had to start a new type of concept in the Web3, storage space, for adoption to happen, right? So, what needs to get done? What are some of the pitfalls that are that maybe Google or Dropbox or AWS haven't thought of that maybe needs rethinking?
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly think that in the current solutions, there is absolutely zero privacy, right? With Google and Dropbox, and everyone knows this. There's data breaches at least once or twice a year for as long as I can remember, right, from the big guys. And I think people have become so exposed to it that they're just like, oh, yeah, whatever. It happens. So the bar has almost kind of been set so low that even the big guys know, like, we're selling your data. We're selling your data. We can see what you're storing. That we all know that it's not private, but they become so comfortable and so big that people just store. If it's hypersensitive stuff, they probably don't, right? But for a new solution to step in, I think obviously the privacy and encryption and it has to be there, and it will be there. But I think it's just the ease of use of an app, right? I think the real hurdle to overcome and really start to chip away at the Googles and these other big players is how simple to use is the application, right? I think that's the big hurdle that crypto has never quite solved as of yet. And that's getting my mother on an app to store her photos or whatever. Like, good luck. She's 64, or 63. I'm sorry, Mom, if you're seeing this.
Oh, you're in trouble, buddy.
She's 35. Don't worry. But I think that ease of use is where it really kind of like makes it the make or break moment. And that's where I think Vola and even Nuvola Drive, which is our own in-house cloud storage aggregation kind of app, which we can talk about briefly, is where this change is going to start to happen, right? Nuvola Drive, essentially, if I could summarize it to everybody, it's the Uber Eats of cloud storage. It's a mobile app on your device. You're gonna log in. You're gonna make an account. You're gonna have immediately all email authentication. Make sure it's you, two-factor authentication, all that, and then it's gonna give you all the options of where do you want to store your data, and it's displayed there. It's just a mobile version of Vola, essentially. But when you get in the app, it's super easy. Upload your files. It syncs directly to your phone. You can have upload and delete. We have a feature where you can take a photo and immediately, if you want to, it deletes it off your phone and stores it into your Web 2 or Web 3 via Nuvola Drive. So it's almost like a set it and forget it kind of thing, which Apple has done really well, right? Apple backs up all your information. It's built into your little plan or whatever. They charge me $10 a month. I don't even realize they're doing it, and all my stuff is backed up. If I ever need to, God forbid, it's somewhere, right? If I lose my phone, I get a new phone, it connects it to my account, and it's all right back there. So it's just that ease and like kind of out of sight, not out of sight, out of mind, but almost like set it and forget it kind of thing, where it does a lot of the work for you. And I think Web3 solutions, decentralized solutions, have not really been able to crack that code yet, where it does all these amazing things, but it's super simple, and a fifth grader can use it, or as I like to say, my mother can use it, right? So I think ultimately that's going to be the real aha moment, and I think with Vola and Nuvola Drive, we can start to really crack at that. Nuvola Drive will be in all app stores at some point this year. We're very confident. Towards the summer is what I'm pushing for. I know demand and expectations and development speed can always conflict with each other, but I'm very confident because we sat back on the drawing board. We readjusted a lot of things. We were trying to launch it last year without Vola, and now with Vola it makes so much more sense because the back end aggregation is there. There's just a lot more technicalities that make the app that much more powerful. But Sean, to summarize the answer to your question, I think everyone knows that these big players are not private. So the sell point is already there. You're tired of having your data sold to third parties and XYZ. Here's a better solution. And then it's also easy to use, right? So that's essentially where I think the real transition will happen is once there's a better option, that's just a no-brainer to use at that point.
Oh, excellent. So how does Nuvola Drive integrate blockchain security into the app? And I'm going to cringe when I say this, but is it safe enough to store your private keys?
Yeah, so Nuvola Drive actually absorbs the privacy of the service providers that it's dealing with, right? So
Okay.
Nuvola Drive doesn't actually store your data to any capacity. It's just a transfer tool, essentially,
Okay.
where it goes from your phone into Iagon or your phone into a Web2, Google or Dropbox or Filecoin, right? So it's just essentially doing this and putting it here. And it doesn't store anything. So yes, it's going to be very safe. It's going to be audited. We're going to go through everything that we have to, right? Vola and Nuvola Drive and any products associated with our storage, we will put them through GDPR compliance and CCPA and all of the other regulations when it comes to data storage and privacy, which is funny because the big players all proclaim they are, and they're just blindly selling your data on it,
Right.
Yeah.
which is crazy to me. But wherever compliance is essential, we will have it there. We have a good amount of the budget set aside for when that time comes for us to undergo any and all. So yeah, you can store anything on it. I actually have some very clever commercial ads that we will be working on once the marketing campaign starts for Vola and Nuvola Drive that will, I think, will really catch fire with a lot of people just because they're clever and it's just so obvious, right? Like why wasn't this thought of sooner? So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's horror story time. Sean, do you have any stories of how this could have saved you in in any
Do we have enough
situations
time,
in your
Ryan?
life?
Do we have enough time? Do you mind if I just lie on my couch and just look up while we
Right.
talk?
We could be your psychologist here. Go
Oh,
ahead.
thank you.
Give us
Thank
your
you.
worst.
Well, Phil. So yeah, shit. We had a birthday party the week before last, and it escalated very quickly with a few beers later and a few tequilas, and we're like, woohoo, let's go, let's go and have a little bit of a afternoon slash evening dinner with the boys. And anyways, so we're busy having a good time. A couple of mates leave, and then they shouldn't have been driving, and they ended up driving. So they ended up getting arrested. So we're like, oh shit, okay. So now they're texting me like, listen, I'm in the back of this van, and like I don't know where I'm going. So it's like, okay, so give me a live tracker. So I go out into the street. And now I've got my phone in my hand. I'm requesting an Uber because he was the one that actually took us all there. So it's like, okay. So
no.
Ubering, and I'm going to go try to find him. And then, like, I was the only one in the street. I should have noticed. And then this car just drove past and stopped in the middle of the street. And this guy got out and walked down the street like I thought nothing of it. And it just went behind me and literally, like in a split second, just grabbed my phone and bolted all the way up the street. And I looked at this shit and I'm like, oh, fuck. Gets in the car and pisses off. And I'm like, then at that moment, you're like, oh, shit. Okay. Now, I've been toying since January because, like, I've just upgraded like 2 times with Apple, your data is no longer, it's not backing up because you need to upgrade to the 2 terabyte now. And I'm like, I just upgraded like a few months ago, and I don't really want to give Apple more money, right? Because it's this big drive of shit, right?
Yeah.
You can't organize your photos. You can't like, it's just like everything just gets put in there. So I'm like, do I really want to update? And I'm like tossing and turning, and then an incident like this happens, and I'm like, I should have just paid the couple of dollars just to update it. But I lost all that data, and I'm like, I even said I actually don't even care about the iPhone 16. I'm like, you can have it. I'll claim from insurance. You just can have my data. All the photos of my kids, all the holidays we went on in December, all of that. And you're like, and also because I use it as a business tool for my other business, is like all your communications, and fucking WhatsApp didn't update either. So I'm like, so all your conversations that you have memory of and engagement is no longer there. And I'm like, oh, I hate Apple even more. Never mind the criminals. I hate Apple even more.
Yeah.
So so I really could have done with an app that could basically, sort out all the back end stuff, because that's, I think, the biggest flaw with all these companies, Google, Apple, all of that. They choose not to make your life easier by sorting out the rubbish, deleting the heavy files, because they want you to spend more money on data. And it's like, I don't mind spending money if I know that what's in there is of value. But I also, like, I get iffy when, like, I know 40% of that stuff is my mate sending me a cat pic. Probably not a cat pic, it's like an adult cat pic. Like, anyway, so, and I can't go through all of it because I don't have enough time to delete it. So long story short, I should have backed up my phone. But the thing is, how many other people out there, just forget to back up, it didn't back up, or didn't back up in time, and you're frustrated. So there's definitely, I feel, a solution needed to make the lives of people. So, if it works and it kind of just helps you coagulate your information because you've got years of data, then you don't mind keeping that service provider going or paying for that service provider for years.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry you got your phone stolen. That sucks.
It's fine.
You made a great point about, really organizing your data. I have a very good connection, a good friend of mine for years over at NVIDIA. And him and I have had deep discussions about integrating some kind of AI agent into Nuvola Drive, right? It would be super secure because the AI agent would essentially live locally on the phone, not in the network. So it's not like it has access to everyone's data from everyone that's on Nuvola Drive. It's just kind of a local situation. But we could essentially get to a point where you could say, hey, Nuvola Drive, this is Ryan. Examine his face. Make me a folder of all the photos Ryan is in, and it'll just find Ryan. Oh, here's 500 photos, and then it makes a folder for you. Put all my PDF files into a folder, or put all my PDF files from June into a folder, and call it June 2025. So we're looking into that as well. So that someone who's a bit out of the tech savvy world of things could just kind of have a voice command and just kind of vocalize what they're trying to get done in the app. And we're starting a test. We're really looking heavily into this, but yeah, I feel like Nuvola Drive would have been a good thing for you. Your data stored in a couple different places, and then you just go back home and log into your Nuvola Drive account from home, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, that would be absolutely awesome. And I love the AI aspect. That's really cool. I have a horror story from a lot longer ago, so mine's not exactly about
how long ago, Ryan?
Oh, it was a long time ago, back before cloud storage existed. And I'll tell you what, I really wish cloud storage would have existed.
Was it pen and paper?
Yeah, something like that. So, I used to sell construction equipment way back in the day, and I sold lasers and GPS guided systems for bulldozers and whatnot, for cutting, for grading. And I was on a job site. I had my laptop sitting on the track of a bulldozer, right? And I'm sitting there looking up a price for one of the guys, and I get a phone call. So I grab my phone and I start walking away, because I can never sit still. So I'm pacing on my phone, talking. And I get done with the phone call and I turn around just in time to see my laptop, the bulldozer moving, and my laptop going down the track and crunch. I'm like, no! I go running over and find my laptop in a million pieces, a foot down in the mud. I'm like, no, everything gone. Like literally all my client information, all of our quotes and price. It was absolutely terrible. So yes, if cloud storage existed, if only it existed back then, you couldn't have helped me. That predates crypto in general. So, but
man, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, fun and games. At least you're on the right track there, Raul.
What about you, Raul? Do you have a horror story that inspired some of this cloud backup solution you're putting together?
Honestly, mine, if I did, it dates back to like my high school days, which is probably 20 years ago now. Damn, I'm getting old, man. I'm 34, guys. I'm 34. Just with like you write. I'm a huge procrastinator, and I would wait last second to write my papers and everything. And on several occasions, I would wait last day to write a paper. Didn't save it properly or store it properly. I go to pull it up at school the next day and it's just gone, nowhere in sight. And I'm just like, teachers are like, "What's going on? Like, where's it?" I just wrote, I had it, and like, yeah, sure, okay, buddy, awesome. F, so I've had a few of those occasions where it's like, damn, man, like, I mean, I didn't know about cloud storage back then either, like,
right.
So there was a few times I could have saved my ass in high school for sure. But I mean, I guess I'm still here today, so we're all here today, right? We're all
exactly. Unfortunately, my high school days were so long ago. We didn't even have, everything was paper and pencil at that point. So
I was still kind of in that hybrid area. I remember when I was born in Italy, everything was pen and paper there in the 90s, early 90s, and then when I got to the States in 98, 99, I think was that when the first iMac came out, where it was like that bubbly looking?
The bubbly,
a little before that, but yeah, somewhere
it came in like all these different neon colors and like the carrier from the back. Like I remember when that first came out. I think it was like late 90s, early 2000s, and that's when kind of like computers really started to get like. I mean, they were around before then, but that was my first experience with computers was around that time.
Yeah, for sure. My first computer literally used a tape drive, so it goes way back.
But
Like literally a tape drive was the storage solution on my first computer.
I remember using floppy disks back in the day too.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Floppy disk was the
And
new innovation that came out like a couple years after my my first computer.
in your early days, Ryan, do you remember writing on any papyrus or any like?
Oh, wow! All right, now we're getting out of hand.
Man.
All right. Anyways, all right, Crypto Dads, if you're enjoying the show and have some horror stories you want to share with us, click that subscribe button and leave a comment below. And yeah, let's have a little bit of a chuckle. I'm sure we all got one of those stories lying around. So yeah, please share your thoughts, and yeah, we'll see you in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Subscribe, guys, because even crypto dads need a reminder to back up now and then. And I think we've just given you quite a few of those reminders. But, security's all good. We've talked about how to back up and how to store things, but let's look ahead. And Raul, you mentioned AI, and we know AI is absolutely everywhere. So can we talk about how it's a little bit deeper and how you're going to integrate it into the Vola network?
Yeah, I mean, I think our first iteration is going to be to get it into Nuvola Drive. Again, Vola Network is the backend engine to Nuvola Drive, so it's very much going to be, a synergy there between AI and Vola as well. But we want to make file storage like effortless, and what's more effortless than a voice command, right? Where you say, "Hey, I have this Word document from," even if you want to search for something, right? Half the time I want to search for a photo on my phone. I'm like, man, I literally have 20,000 photos on my iPhone.
Right.
Like, it's actually insane. And I have to sit there and go look for it. I got to try to remember what time frame it was at during, right? So just more file organization utilizing AI, I think, is where the sweet spot is going to be for us. AI is a bit of a scary conversation still to this day. I know you hear Elon Musk saying it's practically the end of humanity. I think we still have a couple decades before that hits, hopefully a century, and I won't be around for it, right? But yeah, just integrating an AI assistant into Nuvola Drive. Maybe if you guys can help me think of a clever name that we can call it, right?
I think we can come up with some names for sure.
But just to practically
Amber.
what is it? Amber?
Amber.
Okay. I'm not sure where he's going with that one, but all right.
That's the name of an ex of mine. I might stay away from it. But yeah, just to help the file storage process just become that much easier for someone, because now we can cater to the younger crowd who's more in tech. They understand, they could do cool things, but also the older crowd like my mother, who's just like, hey, I want to store photos of my son from June, and it's just done right there, and it's a lot easier. So, back to earlier in the conversation, we talked about that ease of use. That's the real point where I think the paradigm is really going to start to shift over to Web3 is once it becomes effortless, right? So yeah, we're confident that we can get it done. Will it be an expensive endeavor? Absolutely, right? Because training those AI models is not cheap, but it's a massive value add to our app for both for Nuvola Drive and then Vola Network in the background, and we are very confident in it. While we're on the topic of AI, there's actually a new sector that's coming out called DPAI, so decentralized physical artificial intelligence, where I think there's going to be some decentralized node infrastructures to help train these AI models that, we had just put out a recent tweet about it, I think last week. The space is evolving so fast. And I think with AI, you need to have it be so decentralized because of the nature of what AI is. Right. So we also see ourselves definitely stepping into that sector as well. And if we could be one of the leaders with a Nuvola Drive app and our AI assistant within it, then how cool would that be to have node operators essentially helping decentralize the AI agent within our decentralized app for storage, right? So I think that's something that we're definitely going to keep running with and looking further into.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Raul, you had me thinking the other day on your AMA, and there was like a million things that just went through my head and said, well, what happens if I wanted to build something on your platform, right? Are you guys looking at perhaps a marketplace where I can, solve a problem? Because you guys don't have time to do it all, right? So what happens if I have a cool idea that can leverage your community and the guys using, your technologies, but at the same time add value, but get remunerated for it? Are you guys looking at a marketplace?
Um, Not necessarily a marketplace, but Vola Network itself is a blockchain, right? So developers can come and build solutions on top of Vola, just how they
Ah,
would in any other blockchain as well. So we see ourselves having a full blown ecosystem, DeFi,
okay.
RWAs at some point. Once it's fully fleshed out, we actually welcome that, right? That was another reason why the Vola token needs to be there, because it's going to be other projects building on top of Vola as well,
Mm,
not just us providing a service or XYZ services. So we absolutely encourage that, right? We know we can't build it all. We have extended our team. We have about 20 developers roughly spread across three different developments: Vola, Nuvola Drive, and another one I can't speak of yet. But we want more innovation, right? We see ourselves as an innovation powerhouse. How we started with Nuvola, the 1 to X and the node model, to now be going into full blown DePIN aggregation, cloud storage aggregation. We're innovating, right, on all fronts. So we will have the ecosystem where people can build on top. But if people want to provide direct solutions to what Vola essentially is doing and can help us better it, then yeah, we welcome that. We want that, right? We know we can't do it all at once. So yeah.
Awesome. So is Nuvola Drive robust enough to handle every crypto dad out there uploading their complete digital mess?
Absolutely. You'll have access to so many networks that I'm sure that they can all handle it, right? Some of the smaller networks, if we see that a newcomer's on the block for storage or compute, and they have a really good innovation and robust network, but their network size is rather small. This is where Nuvola, the Nuvola side and the node operations from our side step in essentially, and we say, well, we can actually just help you spin up more nodes, which is also a financial benefit to us because we could get enterprise level accounts with these providers and then route traffic to our nodes, right? Which obviously we're a business. We are a for-profit business, so everything we do, we need to make profits. So there's so many ways that we can essentially help. But as far as making sure that our clients have ample amounts of storage that they can upload their mess and their kid photos and birthday parties and all that. Yeah, we have to make sure that from our side, we're providing the best providers that have substantial networks as well.
Excellent. So, Raul, what are some of the challenges that you and your partner have faced getting Nuvola and now Vola Network off the ground?
So it was a challenge, but it's a moral and belief that I grew up with, right? And that's show your value first, ask for money later, right? So you work for what you ask for. Um, it was there with Nuvola, it was there with Vola, and it's only proven our value to the community. But that is, a lot of people don't know this. When Nuvola first started, the idea, Syed and I coughed up our own personal funds to spin up nodes before we even did the token raise, right? And it was essentially not a donation. I don't want to say donation. I feel like that's a bad way to put it, but it was an effort put forth to show people like we have our own personal money and skin in the game. I think the initial capital we put into Nuvola was a little shy of $200,000 at the time of March last year, right? Which, if you look, we deal in ADA. If you look at ADA prices back then, that's a lot of ADA that we put forth just to help jumpstart the Nuvola heartbeat, essentially, right, in the process. And then weeks after that, we did the token raise. We still fell short. We only raised about half of the capital we were looking to raise. and we didn't shut down. We took what we had, what we got. We gave extra tokens to the community pro rata. So whoever bought into the sale actually almost got double the amount that they paid for. And we took that money and got all our operations up and going, and we grew from that point on, right? So we proved our value with very little, and we've grown substantially since then, right? Same thing with Vola. When we first announced Vola, we told the community, we're not asking for money. We're just telling you we're doing this.
Mhm.
We still got a couple punches thrown for a new token, which was a bit confusing to me because we're not asking for money. We're just doing something, right? Which is fine. Which is fine. But
Right.
it
Welcome
was,
to crypto.
yeah,
Right.
hey, I'm doing this for you, and it's just like, well, I don't like it. Why you do? It's just like, okay, like. Um, but same with Vola, the development that's been getting funded for the last 4 months is out of me and Syed's personal pocket, right? As
Mhm.
as owners and founders, we firmly believe that no one cares more than we do, and we're going to keep showing that, right? If we don't show up, no one else shows up. And what better way to show the community our care and devotion is we're paying out of pocket. Like my rent money that I have is also a part of my development money. my monthly,
Right.
yeah, my monthly
Yeah.
expenses include the development fund, right? Until we raise the capital through the private seed, and we practically build the entire DevNet with personal funds that Syed and I had. And now the private seed investors have seen that. They're extremely surprised. And that act went such a further, longer way in their books because how many projects raise a ton of money and don't deliver absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
What
Yeah.
happened? All the idea didn't work. Syed and I are on the opposite end of the spectrum when we say we're putting our own money, we're going to make it work, we're going to prove the value, and then the interest will come. And it has. And it's worked every single time.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic way to do that.
Yeah, so
That's
we firmly believe in if you don't have skin in the game, then why are you even in the game at all?
right. I mean, that goes back to that's more of a real world company
Yeah.
kind of idea. In crypto, it's always, oh, let's raise money for this idea, right? But no, you guys, you put your money where your mouth is. So that's
Exactly.
fantastic.
Yep.
And by no means is it easy to start anything, especially when you have to put some grit in it and take some punches. But I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur is that you just have to keep going.
Yeah.
One more step forward, no matter what and how doom and gloom it looks. Because if you keep moving forward, opportunities present themselves. If you stop and pause, nothing comes your way. All right, so you got to keep pushing, and that's probably a good lesson for those crypto dads out there, and for our community that want to know more about this new project of yours, obviously Nuvola, but also the new project Vola. Where can they go to? What can they do? What are the steps? What can the next couple of months steps be so they can keep this project on the radar and do their homework, of course. And if they want to get involved, they can take that next step.
Absolutely. Our main Twitter account for Nuvola is just Nuvola Digital, right? For Vola Network, it's just at Vola Network, and it'll have all the links in that Twitter to the documents and everything. Our main channel of communication is Discord. We have several different channels. Vola is its own independent channel in there where we have dedicated discussions to it. As far as the next few months, we have a ton of updates rolling out. So be on the lookout on Twitter and even in our Discord. We will be doing a ton of spaces. The last few months, like I mentioned, we had just been heads down working, and now it's when we stand up and we start to show and vocalize what we've been building. So this last month in Q1 and then start of Q2 is going to be extremely explosive for us with the information we're letting out. So mostly just Twitter, Discord. We've always kind of been that way with our communications.
Oh,
Brilliant.
fantastic. So Raul, we know you can't sit still in the innovation department here. So what's the craziest thing you're dreaming up next?
So with Vola Network, it puts us in a very interesting position because the way Vola acts is essentially a backend engine to Nuvola Drive, also C Hub, which we've talked about on previous shows, which is the loyalty rewards points marketplace, right? But there's an element of Vola that essentially it's an analytics platform where all these, you know, back end workings that it does for these different applications, it's collecting data constantly. And from that, we can essentially create packages of sorts where we understand, okay, where the user is most active in which domains, which industries, like, you know, how much is being spent in this industry, what's it being spent for, the money flow, you know, we could do cost analysis. There's so much there. Recently, we also got approached by an individual in a completely different industry. I won't give it away just yet, that I never even dreamed of or imagined going into, but it's actually a massive industry that runs the globe, right? And on many different levels, on government levels, many different levels. And he said, "Hey, I love what you're doing. Can you help me? Here's my pain points." And it had to do with fragmentation in his own industry. And the more I looked into it, the more like, yeah, fragmentation is a service level problem, but what you need more than anything is analytics, data tracking, right? Understanding where the money's going, where the communications are working, where they're not, because connection is power, right? And data is power, right? And if you can connect the data and the dots, you essentially become an extreme like power source, right? Where you know everything. You can almost start to predict interactions and predict markets because you have so much data compiling. So we see Vola. I firmly believe that this will happen in a very short amount of time, where Vola can start to become an analytics powerhouse for all these different applications, right? Where we're in the loyalty point system, we're in the cloud storage and compute, we're in this other industry that I just mentioned, right? And from there, we can collect so much data that who knows what other applications can surface from it, where we have so much power on the back end and it's all private, right? We're not going to get into the whole resell data. If we do, it's going to be completely anonymous. It's going to be, hey, 1 million people on this side of the world bought this one product. Awesome. You know, have fun with it. No names and all that stuff, but the amount of applications that could essentially be powered by Vola is where I think the real like magic and aha moment can begin to happen, because the analytics that we can collect, and we are starting to also get an idea of where we can tap into and collect is almost limitless, right? So innovation with that is where we're starting to kind of like really like brainstorm, you know?
Oh, that's really, really exciting.
On that note, guys, that is a wrap. Crypto Dads. Raul, thank you for your time and enlightening us and about Vola Network and what's yet to come. We wish you continued success with your new venture, and hopefully we'll meet you soon at a convention sometime.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. It's another great episode, great follow up to the first one, and I'm very happy to rewatch and share with the community.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great having you on the show today, Raul. So remember, everybody, stay sharp, keep those keys secure, and don't miss out. Next time, we're going to dive into the wild world of crypto gaming, and you don't want to miss that one. Again, thanks a lot, Raul, and we'll see you guys next time.
Cheers,
Bye,
guys.
Thank you.
Ciao.
The material and information presented in this recording are for entertainment purposes only. Do not misconstrue what you hear as investment or trading advice. Always do your own research. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the guests on this recording are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of DadsGoneCrypto or its hosts.